This is a DOD Fed Globe production. We are here today to introduce you to the Veterans Chairman for the National Board of DOD Fed Globe, Mr. Will Rodriguez Kennedy. Hi, Will.
Hi, how you doing?
Pretty good. Can you tell folks why it's important to you to be on a board that advocates for and educates about DOD employees, past, present, military, civilian, and aligned corporations that are lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people?
Well, it's important because it's part of two of my major tenets in advocacy, and that is LGBT issues and veterans. I already serve on the San Diego Pride Board here in San Diego County. I'm also on the Veterans Advisory Council of the San Diego County. So this is one of the rare opportunities that I get to actually mesh those two important tenets. And this organization is very good nationally. I'm glad to be part of it.
And you are a military veteran.
Yes, I am. I served in the United States Marine Corps.
And you served at a very young age, didn't you? Weren't you in at 17?
Yes, I actually had my 18th birthday in boot camp. So yes, I was young.
And you were dedicated to the Marine Corps. What happened that ended your Marine Corps career?
Well, shortly after, almost halfway through my military career, I had been deployed to Iraq. I had a situation where I had a Marine who had a substandard Marine who basically accidentally, not really accidentally, but basically made up a rumor about me that just happened to be true. And so that started an investigation, and I decided, well, I had to face the decision of whether I had to continue being in the Marine Corps and take down other Marines, because I had to take down some of my friends, or to do the honorable thing and just decide to take an honorable discharge. It was unfortunate. It was one of the roughest times of my life. I had to deal with discrimination, mostly because of the investigation itself. In the Marine Corps and the military in general, it's not really, I think there's an acceptance. There was an acceptance, at least, but when you have an investigation coming at you, that's basically, it puts you sort of in a bad color. Like, because now it almost looks like you're doing something wrong, as opposed to you just being another Marine. So that's what created the discrimination, in my opinion.
And your big crime was working while gay?
Yeah, that's it. I was one of the youngest corporals in the Marine Corps in my time. I was promoted pretty early. I think I was a year out of boot camp on October 2nd. 2006 was when I was promoted to corporal, so I earned my stripes young. But despite that one issue, even after my deployment, that's a full deployment, I was discharged.
And so, don't ask, don't tell, don't pursue, that we know as DADT, really does pursue people in the military, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, the practicality of this is that you have a situation in which you are creating, when you enter the military, you're creating people who have to lie. They can't serve, and they can't serve openly, and because they can't serve openly, they have to live this entire time sort of in a dual lifestyle. Oftentimes they have to lie, they have to hide, they have to even create the idea of heterosexuality, even though that's not them. It's not a good thing. I mean, you create complexes. Sometimes I honestly think that that is a stressful situation. We probably create cases of PTSD because of that. I personally, it was a tough battle for me. I mean, I had to watch, for example, things like Facebook, MySpace. I had to watch who my friends were. I had to make sure that I wasn't friends with too many gay people. I had to put girls in. I had pictures of girls as with my friends as my main screen to make sure that I didn't look gay. It's a stress that most soldiers, Marines, airmen, sailors should not have to deal with. And it's a stress that actually weakens us. I think that policy participates in the weakening of national defense, and I wish they would change it.
So now that you know they're doing this survey in the Department of Defense to figure out if there is an impact if service members serve openly, and it has in it questions like, would you be willing to be in the military if you had to share a shower in the same shower room with a gay person? Or they ask family members that if you're living in base housing and you know that two gay people are a family and living in base housing, will you leave the base? Will you have your spouse leave the military? How does it make you feel when you know they're asking a survey like that?
I think it's interesting that we're actually asking troops about this. I mean, I wasn't asked about policy when I was ordered to go to war. I wasn't asked about policy when the command decided anything. The way the military works, and most civilians may not understand it, if you are given an order, if you're given a policy, the troops will carry it out. We are an all-volunteer force that they will carry out the orders that they are given. And so I find it interesting that we even ask these questions. The fact that, and if you look at the questions and the subject matter, I'm one veteran who's seen these questions, and I think you have a situation where you're going to have a lot of people saying, that these questions seem sort of biased. And then you also have a situation where you have command pressure, in the sense that there is sort of a culture in the military in which, like, you want to conform to standards, and if people are answering one way and they speak about it, you're more likely to answer that way than what may be right. It may not be right, but the fact is the military is a conformist culture, and so it's hard for me to see this policy coming out. I mean, this survey coming out well for us. I think I really personally think that this is the majority's chance to say, hey, we tried, and then when they shy away from their promises, this survey will be the reason why, and I don't like it.
And they didn't ask any questions about have you ever seen somebody who was perceived as a gay service member harassed. And that is something that actually does happen. In fact, gay people, or people perceived as gay, have been killed by military service members. But yet those questions didn't show up in the survey. Does that make you think?
It's unfortunate, but people do die because of their sexual orientation in the military. It has happened. It's not to say that it's the majority of times, it's just to say that it's happened. And it's really unfortunate that in a survey like this that's supposed to encompass all of the issues, that it doesn't take into account the discrimination and sometimes the hatred that people who are serving under this policy experience. Even people who are just perceived to be gay. You don't even have to be gay. If they think you're gay, even the slightest bit, if you're not as masculine as some of the other service members, or if you're not as strong, this is the type of thing that goes beyond even just LGBT. It's a discrimination about who people are. It's really sad.
There is a definite amount of stereotyping based on gender, where women who appear strong are automatically assumed to be gay, and men that appear maybe a little slender are sometimes assumed to be gay, and it's not necessarily true. But in the military community, they basically do teach people by the existence of Don't Ask, Don't Tell to be prejudiced towards anybody who they perceive as LGBT. Isn't that the case?
I believe that there's no place for weakness in the military, and I think that this policy creates a type of, it creates a class, it creates a mindset that being a member of the LGBT community is a weakness. So it's wrong, because what creates the weakness is when you have people who have to not be who they are. People are weaker when they have to live two lives. People are weaker when they can't openly serve. And I personally believe that anyone with blood, anyone, can go and serve their country, and whether they're gay or straight or bisexual, whatever the case is, it should not stop that. If you're willing to give your life for your country, it shouldn't matter who's better than you share.
Now, we have on November 11th, we're aiming for a national, in every state and every U.S. territory, LGBT Veterans Day on November 11th, 2010. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, yes. The plan is to basically bring awareness on Veterans Day to the issues affecting LGBT veterans. For example, Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which is a major one that we showed, but also to acknowledge the service of people, of thousands. There are thousands, certainly. I mean, if you count the 14,000 that were discharged, it was more than that. You probably have tens of thousands, if not over hundreds of thousands of LGBT people who are actually serving in this country, and it's to acknowledge their service. A lot of these people are not acknowledged. It's important. So the plan is to basically get one of these events to happen in every one of the states. We're going to start trying to partner with a lot of other activist organizations to try and get this happening, and I think it will raise awareness not only about the discrimination of the policy of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, but also to acknowledge the service of the LGBT veterans. That's important.
And some veterans that are LGBT actually retired from the military, and they have married partners, but they cannot share their benefits with their married partners that are their spouses because of Defense of Marriage Act. So what do you think about Defense of Marriage Act on this issue?
I personally think the Defense of Marriage Act is unconstitutional. There are cases, the recent Supreme Court ruling that says that parts of it are unconstitutional.